What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Sigma channel. AJ here, and I know I've got some catching up to do on this cigar journal. So last week I did some traveling, and when I got back I was under the weather for a few days, and you can probably still tell my voice is pretty bad right now. I probably sound really jacked up, but the show must go on. I've got an amazing cigar journal entry to share with you guys this week. It's a very special one for two reasons. And number one being that it features one of my favorite brands, and that is the Arturo Fuente line. Everything in this journal entry is going to be from Fuente. And the second reason is because this is when I had my celebratory stick of reaching 1,000 subscribers. So that cigar is going to be reviewed here as well. So without any further ado, and if you can deal with my jacked up voice, I hope you enjoy. Kicking things off with the Arturo Fuente Anejo in the 888 Vitola. I love all of the Anejo line in pretty much every Vitola, but this one has got to be my favorite. It's also in my top 5 video for evening cigars. So I had a few errands to run, so what I did was I cut it and then I put it to dry box until I got back a few hours later and was able to sit and enjoy this beauty right here. And starting out, it did have a tight draw. It also has that tapered head. And what I like to do with cigars like this is cut off just a little bit at a time to kind of maintain that shape and that concentrated draw that you know is intended with a roll like this. I think I cut it a couple times during that first third, just slicing off like a millimeter or two at a time to get that draw opened up just right. And in that first third, I was getting tangy notes, fruity notes with some slight pepper as well. Right off the bat, I'm loving this cigar. I'm getting those like cinnamon bread notes that I just absolutely love with Fuente cigars. And while it was tasting great, that draw was just still a little bit too restricted as the cigar kept burning. So as a last resort, I had to turn to the perfect draw to really get that flow going, to really open it up. And when that second third rolled around, just had to go grab another cup of coffee. And I've been asked before, what do I like to pair with my cigars? And it's definitely going to be either coffee or an espresso, and maybe sometimes I'll just have a Coke Zero, and I would say that those are definitely my go-tos. That smoke body is just, it's luscious, and it has plenty of flavor coming through. I get that baked cinnamon bread flavor with some cedar wood. I absolutely love it. It's something I've come to expect from pretty much every good Fuente blend. And as we got into that final third, it was steady with the flavors. It still tasted good, but I can say for sure that I've had much better experiences with the 888 Vitola and the Anejo line. Unfortunately, I had a lot of touch-ups with the cigar. Maybe it's just that time of the year. It's in the fall, it's colder. You know, when it comes to temperature and humidity, these things, you know, they can cause a lot of havoc for your cigar, especially smoking outside. But I can say for a fact the perfect draw definitely saved this cigar from the trash bin. And it also allowed this moment to be enjoyed, you know, so that's definitely a plus. So I followed that up with the Arturo Fuente Maduro Double Chateau. And I remember in the Humidor tour video I did the other week, you know, I was completely going blank on the name of this Vitola. And of course, it comes to me as soon as I think about it after I was done recording. But yeah, there's this, it's the Double Chateau, which is almost 7" by 50. Then there's the Chateau Fuente, which is a 4.5" by 50. It's like a short Robusto. I love that cigar for short smokes. I was enjoying it pretty much all summer this year. There's also the Spanish Lonsdale, which I absolutely love that cigar. I've had it many times. But this one specifically, the Double Chateau, it's my first rodeo with this cigar, so we'll see how it goes. So kicking things off in that first third, it had a very flavorful light up. Right off the bat, I was getting cocoa and dark chocolate. Started off excellent. Now, one thing I noticed is it did have a pretty tight draw, but I was going to wait and kind of just see how it goes, because I know I'm just using my judgment here because it seemed like it was in perfect humidity. It had a good bounce to it, and you could hear a little bit of the leaves rustling in there, just a little. So I want to wait and see how it progresses before I try to mess with the draw any further at this point. And moving on to that second third, man, I tell you, this cigar is just something special. The cigar smoke, the body is very smooth and silky. It's very mellow. I'm loving this cigar at this point. And as far as flavor notes, it had like cedarwood and cinnamon on the back end, but with the main notes being the sweet chocolate and coffee notes. This cigar in that second third had me feeling euphoric at this point. And into that final third, here it kind of took a step back. You know, coming into that final third, I got more darker flavors. However, what really messed it up is I started getting some hits of like bitterness, and that sweetness that I was getting in the first and second third definitely disappeared at this point. And it also started to really dry out my mouth. And as far as flavor notes, I was getting more like dark coffee and espresso notes, just, you know, these notes that were teetering on the edge of being too bitter to finish. On the plus side, the draw was good all the way through. I actually never even thought about it again, so that's a good thing. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this cigar. That first and second third was really something special, and I think I'll stick to the other Vitolas in the future though. The Spanish Lonsdale and the 858 are still the winners for this blend in my opinion. Moving on to the Arturo Fuente Eye of the Shark. The Don Carlos is my favorite cigar, as I've already mentioned many times in other videos. So when I'm going to have a Don Carlos cigar, I got to make sure I get my ritual just right. I grab my coffee and I sit back and ready to enjoy this cigar properly. In that first third, right away, I'm getting those flavor notes like cinnamon, that baked bread flavor. However, I'm not getting the smoke I expect from this cigar at this point. You know, I'm getting a very light, thin smoke texture. There seems to be a little bit of a trend here with my cigars in this journal entry. They're all starting off with a tight draw. But I'm going to take my time with it and see if I really need to doctor it or not. In that second third, I got some more of those cinnamon flavors, and then I even started getting some cashew notes as well. But the smoke production still sucks. And I know this thing is usually like a locomotive with how much smoke it produces. So I know I'm going to have to bust out the perfect draw and probably shave off another slice off the top as well. And when I went to go do that, I realized this thing is packed ridiculously tightly. You can see me here in the camera as I go to kind of squeeze it, and it has absolutely zero budge to it. So I go to work with that perfect draw and it comes in clutch in that second third. This cigar took another turn. It became a whole nother animal after this. I started getting thick smoke, intense flavors. This was it. Everything got fixed. It even started burning straighter and even slower than it was in that first third. Before this, it was burning so fast even though I wasn't getting a lot of smoke. And in that final third, those flavors were still just as well. Got some cedar notes, dark flavors, some spices as well. It was just a very tasty smoke, and once again, the perfect draw came to the rescue. I absolutely loved this cigar. As you can see, I even smoked it down to the fingertips. And now on to the most special moment of this weekly cigar journal. I chose the Don Carlos Aniversario in the Double Robusto Vitola. This is going to be my celebration stick. We reached 1,000 subscribers, so a huge thank you to everyone that has joined the channel. I really appreciate you guys and all the engagement and comments on all the videos. So I had to pick out something that was a sure thing, and that's this cigar right here. Gotta take advantage of this sunny day that we're having and get to this smoke nice and early before those temperatures drop and nightfall hits. In that first third, this thing kicks off right from the jump with some woodsy and spicy notes. It's got a wide open draw. Right away, I'm loving it so far. The only thing is, I'm noticing that it needs me to puff on it a little bit more frequently to keep it lit. But that's okay, because this thing is absolutely mouth-watering. I'm getting floral notes on the palate, tea notes on the retrohale, a nice soft and thick smoke texture. I'm loving this thing in the first third right now. And then into that second third, it's got those sweet and spicy notes I've come to expect from a caliber of cigar like this from Fuente. And I'm picking out flavor notes on this cigar with ease. I'm getting some cinnamon bread, some fruity sweetness on the palate, and a light pepper on the retrohale, and even some cinnamon bread on the retrohale as well. The combo of flavors right now is just hitting perfectly. Even in this second third, it's a journey of flavors on its own. I started getting a strong mixture of like floral tea and spice notes. It's a blissful combination, of flavors from this cigar. I'm just loving it. And it even makes for a lingering aftertaste that I'm probably going to be chasing for a long time after this smoke. And when I say spicy, it's a very pleasant spice. It's nothing too harsh. And even the aroma coming off this cigar is very unique. It's got this incense-like aroma. And this entire second third is like a bouquet of flowers. And if that second third wasn't enough, then this final third is an entire journey on its own. The floral notes and the sweetness and the light spice on the back end continues on into this final third. But then I started getting some cedar wood as well. Overall, at the beginning, it wasn't much different than the second third, but it's still very flavorful. And towards the end here, the cedar wood kind of took over, and I started getting this luscious smoke texture, and even some smoky flavors came into the mix with some light spice. Absolutely perfect. But then as that final third burned down, it completely mellowed out at the end. All the flavors just toned down, and I'm getting a smoothness here that I was not expecting. Honestly, all that intensity died down, and I got this smooth cedar wood finish with no spice. It was just a silky smooth finish all the way down to the nub. Hands down, this was one of the best smokes I've had in a long time. And I definitely would have loved to light up some of the more rare sticks, like you guys are mentioning, the Davidoff Royal or the BBMF from Opus X. I'd be struggling with those cigars out here in this weather with the cold and the humidity, but I'm working on setting up a space to smoke indoors, so I'll be able to enjoy any cigar with no issues, regardless of the weather. But nonetheless, this was a great celebration stick, and it delivered a memorable experience that I'm going to be trying to reach again for a very long time. And that wraps up this week's cigar entry. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching all the way through. I'll catch you guys on the next one.